Hello, everyone. This is Kerwin and Keith of Father Son Galaxy, the place for Star Wars and Marvel content. Thank you so much for joining us. We are live. There's some news. I'm sure Star Wars fans are already aware of it. Something that took place this past Monday.
Yeah.
So we wanted to talk about.
And it is literally causing chaos throughout the fandom for reasons.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Yes. All right. So thank you once again for joining us. If you're watching us on YouTube or on Instagram, Facebook, thank you. All right. So of course it has to do. Go ahead.
Star Wars left Manny Jacinto the best birthday present ever because apparently it was his birthday when they canceled the Acolyte. Yeah. The Acolyte has been canceled. There will be no second season.
Yeah.
Like that's music to some people's ears, and to other people it's like the worst thing since World War II. Like
yeah, let's talk about it. So let's start with the deadline report. It came out on the 19th. The headline is The Acolyte canceled. No season 2 for Disney Plus Star Wars series. And here's what it reads. The story of The Acolyte will not continue. The story of The Acolyte will not continue, with Lucasfilm opting not to proceed with a second season of Star Wars offshoot starring Amanda Stenberg, sources tell Deadline. Word of the decision comes more than a month after the 8-episode first season of the series from creator, director, executive producer, and showrunner Leslie Headland wrapped its run on Disney Plus. The news is not entirely surprising. The Acolyte did okay with critics, with 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, but divided Star Wars fans, which was reflected overall in the viewership. All right. So yeah, let's talk about this. So when this news dropped on Monday, Twitter was ablaze.
It literally blew up. This is why I don't have Twitter, because I would have just gotten bombarded with notifications. Everybody's dropping videos. The Acolyte's canceled. The Acolyte's canceled. The Acolyte's canceled. People were literally climbing mountains just to shout it out. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, unfortunately, what was happening was, there was a lot of raw, angry emotions coming from both sides. People who liked the show, people who didn't like the show. I think it was just a reactive emotion that people, I guess that's what social media is about. As soon as you read or hear something that you don't like, first thing you want to do is express your opinion immediately, which when that happens is that you might regret saying some things that you said and you wish you took it back. I'm sure there were some tweets. I saw a couple of tweets were actually there, and then all of a sudden they disappeared because they were deleted
or struck.
Yeah. But people, had a lot to say about the show getting canceled. And it ranges the gamut. I mean, it's because, either Lucasfilm and Disney doesn't know what they're doing. They're not giving a new show a chance to grow, or it's the racist bigots out there, or the homophobes out there, who are the ones who actually asked for the show to be canceled, and it was because of them. That's why it's happening. It's everywhere, but what we wanted to do is just talk about the reason why it was canceled. Not that we know for sure, because Disney or Lucasfilm has not come out, but based on what we know about the show, in our opinion, most of it is our opinion. Some of it has been already reported in the press, that it has nothing to do with how, certain content creators didn't like the show and they wanted to show off the air.
Really?
It had nothing to do with racists or bigots who didn't like the show and didn't want it to come back. It has nothing to do with that. It was a business decision. And
because they saw that the Acolyte spent $180 million and then didn't really make all that money back. So what's the point? Like, I actually enjoy the fact that Disney saw that this show was an absolute bomb and then decided to not renew it instead of just making a second season. Like, remember when Velma got renewed for a second season even though nobody liked the first one? Just to spite people? Like, something like that.
Well, okay, that's a good point. I don't know much about Velma because I'm one of the people who didn't watch the show.
Me too.
But it was an animated series, right?
Yeah.
I expect that an animated series doesn't cost as much as a live action series. So I think a lot of that have to do with money, because maybe it doesn't cost that much to actually create a season 1 of Velma, and so the HBO, whoever it was okay with creating a season 2.
Yeah, because voice actors cost less than actual actors.
I believe
because
so.
They're doing half the work. They're just voicing the characters and not like doing the actual acting for them. That all is done by the animators, whose job it is to display all their emotions and stuff like that.
Yeah. So let's get some Q&A. Say hello to anyone who's watching us. Eric Elliott. Thank you, Eric. I'm not surprised the Acolyte wasn't renewed. I'm particularly happy nor sad over the news. I'm always down for more Star Wars, but I don't call the shots. Right. None of us do. That's a very good point. Yeah. So let me just finish the article here because, we want to get into why we believe, based on what we know and how we feel about the show, why it was canceled. So the Acolyte got off to a strong start when it launched on June 4th with 2 episodes, generating 4.8 million views in its first day on the streamer to rank as the biggest series premiere on Disney Plus this year. The tally rose to 11.1 million views globally after 5 days of streaming. Okay, corroborating Disney's data, the series made its debut on the Nielsen Top 10 Originals chart with its premiere week at number 7. So premiere week, the first 2 episodes of 488 million minutes viewed, climbing to number 6 the following week. So that would be the following week, episode 3, I'm believing. So, but the Acolyte cannot sustain the momentum, dropping out of the top 10 in week 3 and staying off before returning to number 10 after the release of the finale, which is 335 million minutes, believed to be the lowest for a Star Wars series finale.
Man,
okay, now
that's crazy.
Just based on that information. So if I'm reading this right, the first 2 episodes did very well. The 3rd episode might not have done just as much, but it was also pretty good. But then you have 4, 5, 6, and 7, 4 episodes, right, that fell off of the top 10 completely, which is not good.
That is insane.
Yeah.
For a Star Wars show, even Book of Boba Fett probably did better numbers than this. I can't say that's true because I haven't looked, but I'm just. Yeah. It's an educated wish.
Yes, an educated wish.
I feel like literally every other show from Star Wars has done better than this.
Yeah.
And not that many people liked it. Like, a fifth of the people who watched the show actually enjoyed it, or at least a fifth of the fans who watched it enjoyed it, which is dismal numbers for Star Wars. So...
Okay. All right. Let's go to Q&A. Let's see who else we have. We have Lisa. Hello. Thank you for checking in. Thank you, Lisa. And we got Charlie. Hey, Charlie. Hello there. And yep, I was bummed out of my friends worked on the stunt team, London-based Tien Hogue. Okay, check him out on Instagram. He has some good behind-the-scenes video of their fights. But I was bummed out getting that text message. Yeah. So. All right, so your friend worked on as a stunt person for the Acolyte, and now they're out of work. Yeah, that's one of the bad things about having a show canceled.
And I just find it unfair that when people don't like the show and then don't want it for season 2, then they're like, "Oh, you're racist, you're homophobic." It's like, sure, there's an amount of people who are like that, but like, not all of them. So it's not fair to call out the entire fan base for just being like that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Yeah. So again, the numbers speak for itself, right? So if you're saying that the first 3 episodes did okay, and then the next 4 episodes didn't even make the top 10, well, if you're Lucasfilm, this is a business, and Star Wars is $1 billion business, and it's a big IP. You're asking yourself, well, why did it go from being in the top 10 one week and then just dropping out for the next 4 episodes? All right. So there must be a reason why viewership dropped that much. All right. Now, let's be, we'll be transparent. If you haven't heard our reviews, we only did the reviews of the first 4 episodes.
Personally,
right?
We couldn't keep going.
No, that's your opinion. No, it's just that we were busy.
I said personally.
Yeah, you said personally, right? But the real reason is we weren't able to. We watched all the episodes, but we didn't review them, right? Because we were a lot of things going on. We were moving at the time, but we did get the first 4 episodes in advance. We recorded them and we gave our opinions. But from episode 1, from the start,
it was all right.
I had a problem with it. All right. And I'll be honest with you. And I'm not going to go in and talk about the show because we've done that already. But from the start, something was not right.
Yeah.
As far as how it was, Star Wars presented this show as a mystery. And then, when I watched the first 5 minutes, we know who the killer is. So, what is the mystery is the question I asked from the very beginning.
Yeah, exactly. The only mystery was just leaving out vital plot points.
Yeah.
Infuriatingly so. I can understand if there was some intrigue around Torben killing himself, but it just made me mad. And then when we got the flashback, he still didn't do anything. Nothing that would warrant taking your own life, let alone waiting for somebody to do it for you. What?
Yeah.
And then Osha just choked Soul out. She was like, "Stop talking!" Right. And just raged on him. Unnecessary, considering that's the man who practically raised her since she was 8.
Yeah.
Sure, he killed her mom, but to be fair, your other mom decided to attack your fellow coworker, and that same woman also intruded on the mind of the same coworker, which is if this was a thing that people could actually do, that would definitely be classed as a crime.
In other words, the writing was not strong enough for me. It did. I find that the characters are making decisions that didn't really make common sense.
Yes.
To be honest with you. So I struggled with these episodes, and I said, okay, episode 1, wasn't so bad. Episode 2, again, I don't think it was that much better than episode 1, and then episode 3, and I saw where that was going, and then I actually just lost interest after episode 3.
And I'll say it just feels like the show is trying to make the villains the heroes. Were we supposed to feel bad when Mother Anastasia died? Communication is kind of important. You could have just said, "Yeah, I'll let Osha go with you if you leave right now."
Right. So
conversations.
Yeah. All right, but again, we're not going to go into all it's just a lot to talk about in one episode. So we pretty much, made a point as to how we feel about the show. So for us, we thought the writing could have been stronger. So right now, we have the writing not strong enough. The ratings are very low. Right. And then because of the writing, I felt the characters were actually, suffered because of the writing.
Yeah, the only person I could get behind is Soul, and then they just had to keep going and make him a bad person.
Yeah.
It's I don't understand. Soul was the best part of the show, and then we get to episode 7, and he kills Mother Anastasia, and then all of a sudden he's like a villain. And then he just gets killed by Osha, because she wants to have her little villain moment and go run off with the same dude who killed 2 of her friends and then an entire dozen's worth of Jedi and then injured her master. What? Who in the right mind? What? Why? How?
Okay.
She had the opportunity to kill him multiple times.
Okay. Well, remember, we're not here to talk about the series. It's just, I think we got the point, Keith, that we were expecting a little bit more from the storyline. Part of it was the writing and the editing, perhaps, because they were trying to tell you the story in the present, and then you had to figure out, okay, well, what happened? Then they did a backstory as to what led up to what happened in the present.
Yeah, and it worked well with Deadpool because the storytelling was cohesive and the flashbacks actually tied into the story. That opening scene where he's beating up those goons, and then we go back to how Deadpool got his powers and why he was going after Francis.
Yeah,
and then you go back to the main story.
Yeah,
that was excellent. That was great. But here, first of all, episode 7 was not necessary, and it was a complete waste of my time. because episode 3 was basically the same thing, and then they spliced episode 7 in with the Jedi's perspective. So the show really could have been 7 episodes, because episode 7 was the same thing as episode 3, but just better. And then after that, the finale was not great. I'm going to stop talking.
All right. Well, okay. When I first heard about this show, I was very excited about it because it just sounded like something that we've never seen before was going to take place during the High Republic, which we don't have any outside of the books, any live action stories involving that era. And then when I saw the cast, I said, wow, this is a very strong cast. I love the diversity. I love that this looks like if you're going to have this many actors in this one series, it's got to be character driven, right? Yeah. That's what I was expecting. But the problem is it was not character driven. I honestly don't know what was driving the plot. And I'm saying that because, there are some things that I saw in this series that I don't normally see in any other series. Is that once a week, you saw one main character get killed every episode.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen. Like, how do you get to learn more about the character if you're killing them off one by one?
And how is that sustainable? Yeah. Like, eventually you're gonna run out of characters. So I really hope they don't continue that, or I hope they didn't continue that in season 2. Now there isn't one.
Yeah.
I think the Acolyte could have been so much better because there was just so much potential that was just left on the table.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. You know what would have been really nice? A murder mystery, right? We don't find out the killer until, like, episode 6, maybe even 7, right? You just keep going through the story. You add characters. They get further and further into the intrigue. And then, like, if you still wanted Jackie and Yor to die, have them get too close to the mystery. Then they're gone. And then you just have the other characters keep going until they eventually find out who the killer is, find out her backstory, and then go after May, and then do that. Like, I'm just saying this off the top of my head, but that could have been a much better story than what we got. So,
Okay. Any more Q&A? Yes. So let's go to Q&A. Excellent. All right, Alex, thank you so much. Excellent points, Keith. Yeah, some things didn't make sense. Originally, I had hoped for some good answers, but ended up feeling disappointed and unhappy with how the story and the characterization went. Yeah, we feel the same way. So what we have so far is, what the reasons that we believe that the show was canceled. 1 is because of the low ratings. 2, the weak writing, the plot maybe, didn't know where these characters were going. And then the underdeveloped characters, that's a part of the writing. I mean, when the writing is not good, it's very hard for even the best actor to do anything with that storyline. Like, your writing's got to be strong. So, and then the next thing, which I think was the biggest reason why Lucasfilm decided to cancel The Acolyte, was the budget. All right. So
yeah, The Acolyte was a budget buster.
So from what I'm hearing, if this number is true, this series was budgeted at reportedly $180 million for the season.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? It wasn't even all that intensive on CGI because all the main characters, except for Jackie, were humans. Kelnaga doesn't count because he's a Wookiee and, he died. He was really only in, 3 episodes, and all of them were minimal screen time. Yeah. So, honestly, I don't understand where all that money went. Like, there were some really nice 4K backgrounds in there, but how did you spend $180 on that?
I don't know. Well, they did film on location for the most part. Maybe all of it. They had a big cast. They had a crew. I'm sure. When you're shooting on location, that requires a lot of staff members and crews. Well. A lot of people that you have to pay. So maybe, and then visual effects, obviously.
Yeah.
But $180 million, that's like a big budget movie. I mean, that's like a Deadpool budget.
Actually, the first Deadpool movie was literally made on less than $60 million.
Okay.
And that movie brought back almost $800 million at the box office.
Right.
Like, you see what I'm saying here? Like, there's a difference between cheap movies with great stories and cheap stories with great money. Like, because Deadpool, they had their budget cut multiple times during the production. Like, that's why in the final fight, Deadpool's using katanas instead of guns, because it would have cost too much to fully edit that stuff.
Okay.
So, that was an excellent movie. For one of the characters being literally entirely CGI and having some pretty big screen time in Colossus, that money went to good use.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's 180 million for a series, which obviously series have bigger budgets than movies because they're like 3 times longer than movies. But it's just, it wasn't worth it.
Here's the ironic thing. So there has not been a Star Wars film since 2019, right? But Disney and Lucasfilm had enough money to pay $100 million to create the Acolyte.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, okay, well, with that much money, like, was there a thought of ever maybe creating a film of the Acolyte?
Like,
you know what I mean? Like, again, this budget is for a big movie.
Yeah. I think the story was just so winding and stretched out that it would have just worked better as a movie. Like, giving us the same episode twice was kind of a bad move. And like the wild goose chases and all these episodes, like, this really would have worked better as a film, especially because it would just cut the story down. It would hopefully cut the budget down as well, just really kind of make it worth it. But the only issue with that is then the box office would be public and it would probably bomb even worse. So, but then again, it probably wouldn't, considering it would be the Star Wars' first return to screen in 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, the big screen at least, except for the fact that it's not good.
Now, to admittedly, of course, the fight scenes, I mean, everyone is talking about that. We saw some lightsaber battles, that were really, that were choreographed very well.
Yeah, they were well choreographed at all.
They were. So
I don't understand forced food fighting when you have a lightsaber.
There's some good money in
that just sounds wrong to say, forced food fighting.
Yeah. There's money put into stunt work, that type of stunt work, which is fine.
Yeah.
And there were some very good performances. I was very happy with Daphne Keene's performance.
Yep. She was better in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah. But again, we didn't really get to know much about her character. And Saul, he was off to a great start as the best character, in my opinion, in the series. And all of a sudden, his character took a turn for the worse in the last couple of episodes. And then really, who did you have to root for? So
like, at some point, I couldn't even root for the villain. I couldn't even root for the heroes.
Okay. And the villain meaning Chimera, right? Okay. Manny Jacinto.
Yeah. Like,
wonderful.
I couldn't even root for the heroes because none of them were people I could get behind.
Right.
Like, Vernestra was completely different from her comic book version. Osha did absolutely nothing until it was time to make the wrong decisions, in which case she had all the agency in the world. May could not make up her mind on any decision whatsoever. Yord was kind of a stick in the mud. Jackie was nice and all, but she died in episode 5.
Yep.
And Dara got killed in the first scene of the first episode.
Yeah.
And we didn't even get to know anything about her character, except that she has absolutely no problem betraying the Jedi and keeping things secret, even though she was the one who asked the council in the first place.
Okay. All right. Very good.
All right. Q&A time.
Okay. All right. We have Q&A. All right. So we have, I think it's not a title character show, big series installment that is guaranteed high viewership. They should stay under 65 million. A budget of $65 million. Yeah. I mean, 180. I can't vouch for a number for that budget being that high of a number. I don't know what to say about that. But again, that would cause alarm, as a Lucasfilm executive. Your ratings, you're not even in the top 10 and they spend $180 million on the show, more than likely it's not going to return. All right, Alex says great points. I like the fight scenes. Agree that Daphne Keene, I think her character Jackie was one of the only characters I liked in the show. Yeah, for very little that we saw of her. So
and there was just so many characters in the show, like a good dozen of them, dare I say?
Yeah, right. And I think by the end of the season, we were down to like how many? 4 characters that survived.
Yeah, because there was Osha, May, Chimera, and Vernestra. Yeah. Don't even ask me how they managed to pull off that ending with wiping May's memories. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, but
that makes Chimera like the most dangerous Sith ever if he has the ability to just clear people's minds of any thoughts, especially not like a lifetime's worth of them. Because if I remember correctly, at the end of the show, Vernestra was like, "Yeah, your last memory is from 16 years ago when you were a kid on Rendok," and I'm like, "How? What?" So,
I'm wondering how. Well, apparently Leslie Hetland might have had some plans on putting together season 2, or she had a pitch for season 2, but it's difficult to see that because you start off, I don't know how many characters, I'm just going to say 12. You start off with 12 characters and you kill off 8 of them and now you're down to 4.
I remember yours Padawan didn't even show up in the rest of the season. Like she was there to arrest Osha.
Yeah, I'm just throwing out numbers. Like, so where do you go? I mean, you don't have any characters left. Can you just have a show just about May, Osha, and Chimera and Vernestra? I don't know. Unless they're planning to bring in a brand new cast of characters. But, I think it would have been nice for us to get to know the characters that we had in the first season. You had a very talented cast you had a very talented pool of actors. So I don't know, if that was the plan.
I counted like 11.
It didn't make sense to me. Yeah.
It's 11 if you count that one dude who showed up at episode 6 who was working with Vernestra.
Yeah.
The one who needs some calcium.
Oh, okay. All right. So what happens next now? So what is people, like I said, one of the blames that people are putting out there on Twitter and, is maybe Disney should not have, first of all, not have come out and used the word cancel, or maybe the press should not have reported it as canceled, because if you take a look at what happened with Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Boba Fett show, there was no mention of whether those shows were going to return. Although you can sense that after, the season ended, some people thought, okay, well, maybe one season is good enough. Then you have other people who think, so maybe there should be more than one season. So Disney decided to not even tell anybody or tell us whether there were going to be a season 2 of Boba Fett or Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I thought, okay, well, why not tell us? Why not let us know whether there's going to be a season 2 or not? Yeah. Here, in this case, they did that. They came out and confirmed that there won't be a season 2. They're not moving ahead with season 2. And people are still angry because
this one was like...
Yeah, but I don't get it. Okay, well, I think Disney did the right thing by letting us know now, rather than not telling us at all whether there was going to be a season 2.
Yeah, honestly, I think using the word canceled was a bad idea because that's what the entire media ran with, like YouTubers, media outlets, everybody. They're like, Acolyte's been canceled, Acolyte's been canceled. Like, that was all you would hear that day. So I think that was kind of a mistake. It wasn't a major one. It's just, wording is everything nowadays.
All right, let's go to Q&A. What do we have? All right. Oh, we got Chris. Braxton Chris. All right. What this means for future people of color lead shows is a bad look. I personally loved the show and saw some great story beats for season 2. Wasn't given a chance to grow. I got you.
Yeah, I can agree with seeing some good story beats. It's just the execution that was so flawed that I just couldn't get behind it. Like, think about that. Think about Osha. Like, she's had her entire life. She's had the rug pulled out from under her because her whole life was a lie. So just imagine that as a concept for season 2. Like, if they would get the writing solid, I might have actually considered watching it. That would that would be a nice show, you know?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Chris, and that was something that I was really looking forward to with the Acolyte, that we had this diverse group of actors portraying these new characters that we never seen before. So I really wanted the show to do well, but it didn't meet my expectations, and unfortunately, I'm hoping that the reason why the show was canceled had nothing to do, right, with having a cast of diverse actors, right? It should not have anything to do with persons of color being the lead roles. It's just unfortunate that a majority of the fans did not like the show because of whatever reasons there were. You know, the writing or the storyline, it didn't interest them.
I gotta say this.
I'm hoping this doesn't mean that we're not going to see more stories with people of color in the lead. You know, I don't think it's, you know, I hope Star Wars is not thinking that, you know, I'm
Lord,
sure
I hope
that
not.
they're smarter than that to say, okay, well, it has nothing to do with the actors. It has nothing to do with the diversity. It was just not a show that caught on with the majority of the viewers.
I think this doesn't bode well for future shows starring people of color, because this is like the first one that really leaned into it, and it was not a hit with the fans. So I'm hoping Star Wars understands that there's a difference between people not liking the show and people not liking the diversity, because I don't think it was the diversity that was an issue.
Correct.
I think it was just the show, between the writing and the characters, that people didn't enjoy as much as they should. I think that was the issue, rather than just the faces that were portraying them.
Right.
So I really hope that Star Wars and Disney as a whole, they keep doing stuff like this, you know, giving us shows starring people of color, as long as the writing is top tier, you know?
Yeah. So I think we're saying the same thing. We're saying that, you know, the show had nothing to do with, you know, who the characters are or the actors that were playing or their background, but it had other reasons, business reasons for why the show was canceled, right? But you said, the first thing you said was, you don't think this is going to go well for other shows in the future starring people of color.
Yeah.
So you do think this is going to have an impact?
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Honestly.
I don't think that. I mean, I'm hoping that is not the case, but you know, it's
like
that's
I'm
very
really
short-sighted
hopeful
to think that, we had, you know, here's your diverse cast and it didn't work out, so now we're gonna go back to, you know, just no diversity. I just don't see that happening. That's not what Star Wars is about.
I know, it's just like, this show was, it wasn't well received by all audiences. And like, to be fair, Andor is led by a person of color, so
that's true. And there are other, you know, persons of color.
Like, that was a great show.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a Star Warsy show. It was more of a political drama, which is all right with me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I want Star Wars to have a diverse show that feels like Star Wars, that's well written.
Interesting.
Like,
okay.
I feel like that's not much to ask.
I don't think it is at all. I do believe that, you know, they have to. Star Wars, I think we said this before. We had this conversation months ago where we say, in order for Star Wars to continue to grow and to be here for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, they have to diversify. You know,
they got to adapt.
Yeah, they have to adapt. They have to present content to us that represent the people who are watching it. You know what I mean? Like, we, you know, want to see people of color, you know, and not, you know, and I'm sure that there are other, you know, there are white people, you know, certain want to see people of color because, you know, it needs to represent the fan base. The fan base is no longer just male white, right? It's bigger than that. So it needs, in order for it to continue to grow and it needs to be around for the next 20, 30, 50 years, it needs to be diverse. So we will once again see another cast of diverse people, and it's going to be better reviewed.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, you know, it's going to be a critical hit, just like with The Mandalorian or Andor. It's going to happen.
All right. Let's do some Q&A.
Yes.
So Chris Bryant's at Braxium. This is from Alex, by the way.
Yes.
That's so true. I remember seeing low ratings on the day the show came out on either Google or IMDb for the show. And you, Kerwin, and Keith make good points. Thank you, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. And then, okay. All right. Yeah. So we have, okay, so the Backlash pre-premiere says we will, and it did have an impact on the show as well. Let me see. The Backlash pre-premiere says we will have a season 2. You mean, Chris?
I don't think.
Yeah.
That's what you meant. I don't know. Just
okay. All right, and look at that. All right, and then all right. Again, Maria. Thank you, Maria. It sucks that it was canceled. Yeah. Yeah. Once again, having that kind of a budget, having low ratings, we don't know. It's very hard to know what the fans are going to like. And they just didn't like this show, majority of them. If they did, I think the ratings would have been higher. I mean, point blank. I don't know what else to say about that. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just going to.
Okay, yes.
A good friend of mine asked me this. Do you think we'll see the cliffhanger at the end of The Acolyte wrapped up in a prose novel or graphic novel? I mean, I feel like they have to tie these loose ends up. So, I don't know. Maybe they'll hire somebody to write a book and just finish this. I really don't think they'll continue this storyline in any other show because the Acolyte's kind of soft.
Thank you, Charlie. Take care.
Yeah.
Good seeing you. Good.
The Acolyte's kind of soft locked because, it's a show that exists in the Star Wars universe, but it's so far out from the other Star Wars shows and movies and series that unless they were to make another High Republic show specifically to follow up on the Acolyte, which would basically just be Acolyte Season 2, I don't see how they can continue this story because the earliest time period is, say, The Phantom Menace. And then after that, we literally never hear anything about this. So they don't really have anywhere for him to continue the story.
Yeah. Okay. And then Lisa says, good way looking at Keith, but unfortunately, there are fans out there who really do want to see a diverse cast. Absolutely. And people behind the scenes. It's a pattern since, John Boyega took off his helmet we're still, that's something. Yeah. Again, that I can tell you, I don't know what happened there. They had a great character in Finn. And then at the last minute, someone said, okay, well, maybe we don't want Finn to be the main character. Let's have it be somebody else.
Honestly, I'm kind of shocked. It feels like Disney's overcompensating for that, though. Because you remember in China when they scaled down Finn on the Force Awakens poster?
Yeah.
And then every other poster after that, he wasn't even a main character?
Yeah.
Because the only notable thing I could say Finn did was yell Rey a bunch of times.
Yeah.
That's they made him so dependent on Rey that he didn't have his own character whatsoever. I can't say anything notable about him except the fact that he was a stormtrooper at some point, which is already such an interesting concept. Think about that. A stormtrooper who deserted. Imagine that. Watch his brothers get shot down in the line of fire by people who he decided that he didn't want to work for anymore.
Yeah.
Think about that.
That would have made a great story.
Yeah, just think about Finn. You see how these rebels just be blasting stormtroopers left and right? Have Finn stop them. Talk about that. Say, hey, they're people too. Some of them are just trying to put food on the table. That would have been such an amazing, amazing place for that character. And then in The Last Jedi, he just got sidelined. And then by the time of The Rise of Skywalker, there was no time for his character arc because J.J. Abrams came back and then he had to tie up all the loose ends from The Last Jedi. Retcon the Holdo maneuver, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Star Wars is trying. We were actually talking about what happens next. What will Star Wars do? They need to continue to keep it diverse, tell more diverse stories, but they need to be good stories, right? Is there a lesson to learn here? Maybe with Star Wars or with the fans, because we don't want to see something like this happen again. We want Star Wars to be successful, We want shows to, come out and make an impact. And, if it's possible, we want them to stay around for season 2, season 3. Yeah, but will Star Wars change anything? Do you think do you think they'll come out and say the reason why we want to talk about, the reason why they want to cancel it? No, not sure. Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, because I don't know.
I think the Acolyte, as like in and of itself, it didn't need a second season. But I really hope this doesn't spell the end for diverse Star Wars stories.
Okay.
Like, they should make a Finn movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I would pay good money to see that.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I'm pretty sure would fly.
Okay. All right. Q&A. Excellent point. I personally would have loved to see more information about Finn and for his character to have more prominence. Is there a show or film about his backstory? I'd watch it. Yeah, absolutely. I really do think that he deserves his own series, but we don't know if that's going to happen. But yeah, we need to tell different stories. So again, I don't believe it's going to be the last of a series, with a person of color as a star. I think Star Wars is going to keep going. They're going to say, okay, well, we didn't hit it out of the park this time. We're going to do something else. But what is that? We know Skeleton Crew is coming at the end of the year, but after that, there's nothing else that's on the horizon as far as I know.
Yeah.
There's no new animated series. There's no other live action Disney Plus series. The next movie is not coming out until 2026. So where are we? What's going to happen? Let me know what you think. We got 2025. There's nothing, as far as I know, on their schedule. What's going to happen? All right. And then, yes, we are. Okay. All right. So we wanted to just take this opportunity to talk about the Acolyte and
never do so again.
And have people, whether you like the show or not, do you, obviously you don't agree with the cancellation of the show. Is there a possibility that maybe if there's enough of support behind bringing the show back, do you think Star Wars would listen and then decide, okay, you know what? Well, maybe we do need to either at least give back to the fans who love the show some type of closure. Maybe they could say, okay, well, you know what? We'll bring the Acolyte back for 4 episodes to wrap it up, answer all the questions that were left open. Apparently, episode 8 was a cliffhanger. Would that be something that people want to see? Let me know if you think bringing it back just for closure, like maybe a 4-part episode series to wrap it all up. Okay. Not for you, though. Okay. All right. So I want to talk about comic books, right? Because I know that there was, I wanted to make sure I give the right shout out to Star Wars Holocron, right? So they put out a tweet a couple of days ago in regards to a new comic from Marvel Comics, Star Wars: Bala Jakku. When Chris was on the program a couple of weeks ago, we talked about this new series that's going to be starting up. So now they're moving away from telling stories between episodes 5 and 6 to now telling stories right after episode 6, which is fantastic because
it's a 30-year time gap.
Yes, I'm a big fan of this time gap because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of story to tell. So I am looking forward to this series. It's called Bala Jakku, Republic Under Siege. It's going to be featuring Luke, Leia, Lando. I saw Dr. Aphra. Great to know. Mon Mothma, and then others, so that's going to be dropping in November. If you go to Star Wars Holocron's Twitter account, you'll see the cover pages of the first 2 issues. All right. So that's pretty cool. All right. As we wrap up, just let me know if you have any other thoughts about the Acolyte, the series, where we think Star Wars is going afterwards. Again, nothing on the horizon for 2025. All right. While we're waiting for any Q&A, Keith, let me know where people can find us.
You can find us wherever you get your podcast. Socials, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Fatherson Galaxy. Website, fathersongalaxy.com. Please check out our merch store, fathersongalaxy.myspreadshop.com. That it?
Yeah.
Did I say Patreon?
Well, you can say it right now.
Yeah, Patreon, Fatherson Galaxy, Patreon. Okay. Just go check that out.
All right, thank you. And then our buddy Chris has a new store, Broaxium Outpost. Check him out. If you're into toys and collectibles, games, comics, you can go there, broaxiumoutpost.com. Yeah. Check it out. Look, he's got a lot of stuff out there, so support this small business, all right? So just wanted to put that out there. If there's any other Q&A, we'll wait for that. So once again, thank you, Keith, for hanging in there. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in.